My fiancé said, "I just need one last trip with my ex before marrying you for closure." I smiled and replied, "Of course." The very next day, I called the caterer and the venue. She discovered the truth at her own bridal shower in front of everyone. That conversation had taken place 2 months before our wedding. I was in the kitchen, wiping down the counters after dinner, when Olivia, my fiancée, leaned against the counter, twisting a dish towel between her fingers. She wore that particular expression I'd come to recognize, the one that signaled she was about to say something wildly unreasonable, but would present it as if it were a moment of deep emotional insight. "Babe," she began, her voice soft, yet weighted with false gravity. "We need to talk about something." I finished cleaning the stove and turned to face her, leaning back against the counter myself. "Okay," I said evenly. "I'm listening." "It's about Liam," she said, dropping his name like a tiny grenade into the quiet of our kitchen. Liam, the man she'd dated for 5 years before me. The ghost who haunted our relationship through the stories she'd told, always lingering just beneath the surface. She'd sworn it was over between them, but I wasn't naive. I'm a civil engineer by profession. My entire career is built on spotting stress fractures in a foundation long before the structure collapses. And Liam? He was a 3-foot-wide crack running straight through the foundation of what I thought we had. "What about him?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. She took a deep breath, as if steeling herself to plunge into icy water. "I can't fully step into our future, into our marriage, without properly closing the door on my past. He reached out, and we both feel like we need to see each other one last time to say a real goodbye, for closure." I just stared at her, letting the sheer audacity of her request settle over me. She wasn't asking for a quick coffee or a brief phone call. I knew her too well for that. This was never going to be simple. "And what does a real goodbye look like?" I asked. "It would just be a weekend," she rushed out. "We were thinking of going back to that little mountain town we used to visit. Just to talk, to reminisce, and to officially end that chapter. So I can come back and be 100% yours, with no emotional baggage. Don't you see? This is for us." It was a masterclass in manipulation. She was packaging her betrayal as a gift to our relationship, as if her infidelity were somehow an act of love. My mind immediately connected this to the secretive texts I'd noticed her sending over the past few weeks, the sudden late nights at the office, the evasiveness whenever I asked about her schedule. This wasn't some spontaneous emotional reckoning. It was a premeditated rendezvous she was now trying to get my blessing for. Another man might have exploded, yelled, accused her on the spot. But that's not how my mind works. An engineer doesn't panic when a bridge shows signs of failure. He assesses the structural integrity, calculates the load capacity, and decides whether to reinforce the structure or condemn it entirely. In that moment, I condemned our relationship. The woman I believed I was going to marry was standing in front of me, calmly announcing she was about to leave on a romantic getaway with her ex-boyfriend 2 months before our wedding. A slow, cold clarity washed over me. The decision was made. All that remained was to manage the demolition with precision. So I smiled, a calm, understanding smile, and said, "Of course, I get it. Your emotional clarity is the most important thing to me. If this is what you need to do to be fully ready for our life together, then you should go ahead and do it." The relief that flooded her face was almost comical in its intensity. She beamed as if she'd just pulled off the perfect crime without consequence. "Oh, thank you, baby," she gushed, throwing her arms around me. "I knew you'd understand. You're the best." I hugged her back, my mind already mapping out the next phase of my plan. "When are you leaving?" I asked. "This Friday," she said. "I'll be back Sunday night. I already took the days off work." Of course she had. I nodded. "Okay, well, you two have fun getting your closure." She left the kitchen already pulling out her phone, likely texting Liam the good news. I stood there for a long time in the quiet, the only sound the low hum of the refrigerator. The engagement was over. The wedding was a fantasy. She just didn't know it yet. She thought she had 3 days to say her goodbyes. In reality, she had 3 days until her entire world came crashing down around her. Update 1. The day after our conversation, I set my plan into motion. It was a multi-front operation requiring precision, discretion, and a complete absence of sentimentality. Olivia was at work, blissfully unaware, probably bragging to her friends about how evolved and understanding her fiancé was. Phase 1. Financial separation. We had a substantial joint account dedicated solely to wedding expenses, an account to which I had contributed roughly 80% of the funds. I went to the bank and spent 2 hours with the manager. I didn't close the account outright. That would have triggered an immediate alert. Instead, I had him draft the necessary paperwork to remove my name from the account and transfer my exact documented contribution into a new private account. The paperwork would be processed on Friday afternoon, right after she left for her trip. Phase 2. Vendor management. I had a detailed spreadsheet with every contract, deposit, and payment schedule. I spent the entire day on the phone not canceling, but strategically adjusting. I called the venue, a stunning historic estate we'd booked for the reception, and told them there was a potential scheduling conflict. I asked if I could place a provisional hold on the same venue for a different date 3 months later. I paid a small fee to secure the new date under a different event name, Corporate Gala. I repeated this process with the caterer, the florist, and the band. I explained that our wedding plans were in flux, but that my company was planning a major corporate event, and I wanted to retain their services. In essence, I was converting our wedding into a ghost event, a corporate party that would never happen, thereby preserving the deposits while shifting liability away from a personal cancellation. The photographer was the only vendor I canceled outright, forfeiting the deposit. I had a strong feeling I wouldn't want any visual record of what was about to unfold. Phase 3. Intelligence gathering. I knew I needed undeniable proof. My word against hers wouldn't be enough. Not with her mother, a woman who could summon tears on command, ready to defend her at every turn. So I hired a private investigator, a former detective named Frank, whose face looked like a roadmap of every bad neighborhood in the city. I gave him Liam's name, a photo, and the name of the mountain town Olivia had mentioned. My instructions were clear. I needed a detailed, time-stamped record of their so-called closure trip. Phase 4. Living situation. Olivia had moved into my house a year earlier. My name was the only one on the deed. I met with my lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Diana, who walked me through the legal process of eviction. Since we weren't married, Olivia was legally a tenant with no lease. Diana drafted a formal, airtight eviction notice. Thursday and Friday were pure theater. I helped Olivia pack. I listened patiently as she rhapsodized about how healing this trip would be. I even handed her some extra cash. "For gas and snacks," I said warmly. She kissed me goodbye Friday morning, her eyes gleaming with fake gratitude. "I'll call you tonight," she promised. The moment her car disappeared down the street, I switched back into demolition mode. I went to the bank and signed the final papers, siphoning my 80% from the wedding account. Then I called the credit card company and reported my card, the one she was an authorized user on, as stolen. That evening, Frank, the PI, sent his first update, a photo of Olivia and Liam checking into a place called the Whispering Pines Inn. It wasn't some rustic cabin, it was a luxury spa and resort, famous for its romantic couples packages. The photo was crystal clear. They were holding hands. I spent the weekend methodically packing her entire life into boxes. Every article of clothing, every book, every sentimental trinket. I was careful not to break anything. This wasn't about rage. It was about erasure. By Sunday afternoon, the house was mine again. The only trace of her was a neat stack of labeled boxes in the garage. Frank's updates kept coming. Photos of them hiking, his arm draped around her shoulders, a shot of them laughing over a candle at dinner, a damning image of them kissing by a fireplace, captured through the window of the resort's main lodge. He even obtained a copy of their room service bill, 2 orders of champagne and strawberries. It was a lover's getaway, plain and simple. I saved every photo, every receipt. Olivia called me each night, her voice dripping with false sincerity. She claimed the conversations with Liam were so hard but necessary, and insisted she'd been thinking of me the whole time. I played my part perfectly, the supportive, patient fiancé, telling her to take all the time she needed. She was due back at 6 p.m. on Sunday, At 4 p.m., I took the final preparatory step. Her bridal shower was scheduled for the following Saturday, a lavish, over-the-top affair hosted by her mother and her maid of honor, a vapid woman named Jessica, at a local country club. I knew the event planner Susan, a woman who'd worked with my company before. I called her and told her I had a special tribute video I wanted to play during the shower as a surprise for Olivia. I stressed that it was a secret and asked if she could arrange for a projector and screen. She thought it was a wonderfully romantic gesture. I spent the rest of the afternoon editing my tribute. It was stark and simple, a black screen, a title card that read "Closure." And then, one by one, every photo Frank had taken, set to a slow, mournful piano track. When Olivia pulled into the driveway that evening, I was waiting on the front porch with a glass of iced tea. She stepped out of the car, looking refreshed and radiant. "I'm back," she announced, flashing that practiced, insincere smile. "And I have so much clarity now. This was the best thing for us." "I'm glad to hear that," I said, standing. "Welcome home." She came up the steps to hug me, but I stepped back, my expression shifting from warm to glacial. Her smile faltered. "What's wrong?" she asked. I didn't answer. I simply handed her the legal eviction notice. Update 2. The confusion on Olivia's face as she read the notice was almost comical-like, watching a computer crash when fed an impossible command. Her brain couldn't process what she was holding. "What is this?" she finally stammered, looking up at me. "Is this a joke?" "Read the second page," I said. She fumbled with the papers. The second page was a formal notice of engagement dissolution, drafted by my lawyer, citing irreconcilable differences. "I don't understand," she whispered, her face draining of color. "We were fine this morning. You told me to have fun." "And did you have fun, Olivia?" I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. "Did you and Liam enjoy the couple's massage package at the Whispering Pines? Was the champagne good?" The look of pure, unadulterated terror in her eyes confirmed everything. She knew she'd been caught. Her first instinct, as always, was to lie. "What are you talking about? We just talked. You're being insane. You're paranoid." I didn't argue. I pulled out my phone and showed her the first photo, her and Liam holding hands at the resort's check-in desk. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "Your things are in the garage," I said, turning to go inside. "You have 30 days to remove them from my property. My lawyer will contact you regarding the financial settlement." "Wait!" she shrieked, panic finally breaking through. "You can't just do this. We have a wedding to plan. I have a bridal shower next week." I paused at the door and looked back. "Oh, I know," I said with a thin, cold smile. "I'm counting on it." I closed the door and locked it, leaving her standing on my porch with the ruins of her life in her hands. The week leading up to the bridal shower was a storm of chaos that I observed with clinical detachment. Olivia, now living with her parents, unleashed a barrage of calls. First hysterical sobbing, then venomous rage. I didn't answer. Then came her mother, accusing me of being a cruel monster for punishing Olivia for a moment of confusion. I told her to have her lawyer contact mine, and hung up. Then her father called, threatening to destroy me. I recorded the voicemail and forwarded it to Diana. They all operated under one fatal misconception. They thought this was a negotiation. They believed my anger was temporary, that, with enough pressure, I'd crack and return to the status quo. They had no idea the decision was final, and the consequences were already in motion. Olivia and her mother decided to proceed with the bridal shower as planned, likely believing the public nature of the event would force my hand. They assumed I wouldn't allow the humiliation of a canceled wedding to become public knowledge. It was a catastrophic miscalculation. On the day of the shower, I received a text from Olivia. "Everyone is expecting you here. If you don't show up, you will embarrass yourself, not me. This is your last chance to fix this, Kevin." I didn't reply. Instead, I drove to the country club. I bypassed the main hall and went straight to the AV room where a nervous technician waited. I handed him a USB drive. "Here's the tribute video," I said. "The event planner, Susan, is expecting it. Play it exactly 10 minutes after Olivia's mother finishes her welcome speech. Don't stop it for any reason." I placed $500 bills on the console. He understood. I took a seat at the bar in the club's lounge, which offered a clear view of the banquet hall entrance, and waited. Final update. By all accounts, the bridal shower was a lavish affair. Olivia's mother had spared no expense. Flowers, balloons, and roughly 75 guests filled the room. Olivia sat at the head table, opening a mountain of gifts, wearing a strained but triumphant smile. She thought she'd won. She believed my absence was cowardice, that she'd successfully called my bluff. I watched from the bar as her mother, Carol, took the microphone for her welcome speech, a saccharine, gushing tribute to her beautiful, loving daughter and her wonderful, devoted fiancé. She spoke of love, forgiveness, and second chances, a thinly veiled plea for me to come to my senses. When she finished, the room applauded politely. 10 minutes later, the lights dimmed. A screen descended from the ceiling. The projector flickered to life. My tribute video began. The first image, a radiant photo of Olivia and me on our engagement day. A soft piano melody played. Guests murmured appreciatively. Olivia looked up, relief softening her features. She likely thought I delivered a grand romantic apology. Then the screen went black. White text appeared. Closure. The next image. Olivia and Liam holding hands at the Whispering Pines check-in desk. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Olivia's smile vanished. The slideshow continued, a silent, brutal chronicle of her betrayal. Photos of them sharing wine by candlelight, laughing in a hot tub, kissing in front of a roaring fireplace. Frank's work was impeccable, each image clear, damning, irrefutable. With every new slide, the room grew colder. Murmurs ceased. A horrified silence settled over the crowd. Carol, ashen-faced, frantically gestured toward the back, trying to stop the video. But the technician, loyal to the $500 in his pocket, let it play. The final image, a close-up of their room service bill, 2 orders of champagne, a couple's massage package, strawberries. The piano faded. The screen went black for a full 30 seconds. No one moved. No one spoke. The only sound, Olivia's ragged, panicked breathing, amplified by the mic on her table. Then, from the back of the room, someone laughed, a short, sharp, ugly sound. It broke the spell. Guests began standing, grabbing purses, slipping out without a word. No goodbyes, no consoling glances, just a silent exodus from the toxic fallout. I finished my drink, paid my tab, and walked out to my car. As I pulled out of the parking lot, I saw Olivia stumbling from the entrance, supported by her mother and Jessica. Her face was streaked with tears and smudged mascara. She spotted my car. Our eyes locked. It wasn't remorse I saw in her gaze. It was pure, primal hatred. I gave her a small, tight nod and drove away. The aftermath was total social annihilation. The story of the bridal shower slideshow became local legend. Olivia, her mother, and her maid of honor were humiliated beyond repair. They'd tried to trap me in a public spectacle, and I'd turned that spectacle against them with surgical precision. Financially, they were ruined. All wedding deposits were lost. The joint account was gone. The expensive bridal shower paid for by her parents had become their own public execution. Liam faced consequences too. His wife, who happened to be friends with one of the shower guests, learned of the affair the next day. She filed for divorce and, from what I've heard, left him with nothing. Olivia now lives in a small apartment, working an entry-level job. Her parents reportedly still cover her bills, but their relationship is fractured. She has no friends, no fiancé, and no future, only the one she built for herself on that so-called closure trip. My revenge wasn't just about canceling a wedding, it was about holding up a mirror. I let her and her entire family throw a party, celebrating her deception. And then I showed them all exactly what they were toasting to. They wanted a public spectacle. I gave them one they'll never forget.